good morning or afternoon or good day. Just a real quick shot today. Um, I was reading um, reading an article actually, or a post. I was reading a post that a friend of mine put up on a page, or one of the recovery pages that or groups that I'm involved with, and it was about the signs of being codependent. And it was interesting because a couple of things that it said. I mean, some of it was interesting and I think good, but it talked about helping others. That um, and that if we if somehow we had put helping others very high on our list of values, that we would be, we'd fall under the bracket of codependent. And I thought, wow, that's interesting that this fellow's kind of putting this here, and I understand that in a with normal folks, and but if you're alcoholic or addict in recovery, like that our life depends on helping others. Like it's a fact. That when we come into recovery, one of the things that we recognize really quickly is that we're grossly self-centered, and we're full of self-centered fear, and we're trying to manage the show. We've lost our faith in life. So the alcoholic and the addict is trying to manage the show all the time, and he's trying to keep things organized and trying to run things at one level, and then later in the disease, often we've given up on all that, and we're just, you know, living to survive, if you will, but so what happens in the 12-step world is we recognize, that we can't run the show. We recognize that, the root of our trouble has been that we've been trying to run the show, and that we're inherently full of fear, and so fear leads, to judgment and complaint, and separation. Can't trust people, and all of those things. So that's the life of the addict and the alcoholic, full of fear, and can't trust people. And so uh, what happens is that if we've kind of got ready to, if we've had enough, we said, okay, I don't know, but I've got to change this. And it was Jung, Carl Gustav Jung, who in the very early days of this program being distilled, no pun intended, who said that we needed to have a complete psychic change, and of a huge upheaval. And we call it a spiritual change, but what happens is fundamentally our life beliefs change. We recognize that there is something going on here that we could call a power greater than ourselves. We relate to that power, and sometimes we call it God or universal intelligence, or and when we're free of fear, how do we get free of fear? We get free of fear by coming to believe that there is something else going on here besides what we thought, which was that we weren't safe, that life wasn't safe, and that we had to get our way, and that we were, it was all about us, in our addiction. And we recognize that, wow, there's something else going on here. There is something. There's an order to thing. There's a divine way, and and we start to let go of some idea of a separate God, and we see, oh, I'm living in something. It's more than a system. There is complete order here, and our shift goes from what's in it for me to how can I serve? How can I be part of this thing? And that leads us to a life of service, and all of the prayers, you know, which are really set the context of our life, are how can I serve? Show me how I can serve. Take away my fears, show me what you would have me to be. Save me from being angry. How can I be helpful? All of the prayers are that way. So if we get recovery, we become we go to a life of service, period. That's and because for us to live in what's in it for me, how can I get more? We're screwed. The alcoholic and the addict is always in trouble when he's living in that way. So so that's the deal. So call it codependent if you want, but that's a scary thing to say. I think that's that kind of a list that I saw on this page was obviously created by somebody who doesn't understand the disease of alcoholism and addiction. You know, it's just a fact. Our survival, our very survival, means that we lean hard into service, not just doing enough, but hard into it. How can I be helpful from as early in recovery as possible? And I know it sounds like a funny way, but it is the way. We don't just make coffee. Like when I first came in, though, the very very early days, I was cleaning ashtrays and making coffee because we all used to smoke in the room. I remember that was in a church, and the church let us smoke in the in the meeting room, and many of them did. That was the way it was, and but that's where we started, And remember my sponsor saying, shake the hand of the newcomer. And hell, I was a newcomer, but if there's somebody that was coming in, shake the hand of the newcomer. Tell the newcomer, hey, glad to see you. I'm glad you're here. I know how you feel. And we begin that process, and then our life just, we go towards that more and more, and we gain in the ability to share, and that's how recovery works. We can't, there's no pill to take away the fear. you know I guess there is. We can take anxiety medication, but it doesn't really deal with the root of our problem. you know and that's why when we find this higher power, call it love. you know Love is obviously a higher power. Call it love if you want, but we find this thing that we begin to have an ongoing relationship with. It's beautiful. So yeah, just want to throw that out there, that recovery equals a life of service. And what could be tough about that? Here we were, full of fear, unable to put shit together, going through divorces, and living in mom's basement. I mean, all of that stuff. How can we, you know and our future life is a life of service. Wow. Anyway, so I throw that out there. I'm going to read from my little book, and that goes for family too. I mean, when you're, because I've been kind of addressing family as much as I can. When you have an addict or an alcoholic in your family, find purpose in serving. You know, and because what happens is often when you have an alcoholic or an addict in your family, you're living in fear too. And everybody's living in fear. You're afraid that the phone call is going to come in the middle of the night, that your young son or daughter or husband is has overdosed or passed away or is in jail, and so just let it go. There is an order to things. And how do we rise above the fear? Because what we fear, we bring about. It says in our 12-step book that set in motion trains of circumstance. Fear set in motion trains of circumstance. So fear is the author often of our life if we're living there. But if our life context completely changes to go from fear to service, how can I help? How can I make a difference? Then that becomes the context of our life in every area. Our light becomes much brighter. So no matter where you are in the whole deal with this, what if there is a pandemic, it's in this area of mental illness, and because alcoholism and addiction is a mental illness, it's in this area. So let's all be focused on service. How can we help others make a difference? So yeah. Okay. And love it if you guys go to my YouTube channel and try building that, and subscribe. Okay. And what's the date? The 15th of March. 15th of March. Here we go. So I've been reading from this little book for a while, since the 1st of May, and it talks about his book about recovery. It was written way back in the 50s, and so it has a bit of sometimes the language I have to reword it, because You know, we've gotten so upset about how things were in the 30s and 40s and 50s in the past. You know, people had different ideas, and we've evolved a lot. We have. There's way more love and consideration and compassion for each other than, you know, they were a tough bunch. You know, and so sometimes some of the the even in this book, some of the writing seems a bit racist and, you know, sexist, and so I kind of edit as I go, but I don't blame them. That's where they were at the time. And okay, we alcoholics, it says, we're on a merry-go-round, going round and round. We couldn't get off. The merry-go-round is a kind of hell on earth. In the 12-step world, I get off the merry-go-round by learning to stay sober. I pray to that higher power every morning to help me to keep sober. I get the strength from that power to do what I could never do with my own strength. I do not doubt the existence of that power. We're not speaking into a vacuum when we pray. That power is there. And that power is there if we will use it. Am I off the merry-go-round of drinking for good? Yes. So that power is there. And we are plugged into it. We are, you know, we are one with that. It's so, the beauty of that is we are one with that. And our old thoughts of fear and less than and you know, create that in our life. So um, let's focus on how can we make a difference, right? Okay, meditation of the day. I must remember that in spiritual matters, I am only an instrument. It is not mine to decide how and when I am to act. God plans all spiritual matters. It's up to me to make myself fit to do God's work. All that hinders my spiritual activity must be eliminated. I can depend on God for all strength I need to overcome these faults, which are blocks. I can depend on God for all the strength I need to overcome these faults, which are blocks. I must keep myself fit so that God can use me as a channel for His Spirit. Prayer for the day. I pray that my selfishness may not hinder my progress in spiritual matters. I pray that I may be a good instrument for God to work with. Beautiful. Kind of fits with what we just talked about. That's so good. So we're going to have a short little sit together and just, again, I do this every day because I've seen over and over and over again that people, addicts and alcoholics and everybody says, gee, I don't know how to connect, you know, how do I connect with that oneness? How do I connect with that isness, that stillness? How do I feel or experience this in my life, God consciousness? And a big part of that is being able to sit, you know, quietly and listen. I think it was, you know, somewhere in scripture it said, be still and know that I am God, you know. So it can't be described, can't be understood. And yet when we sit and we practice sitting on a daily basis, we tap into it. You know, we tap into it. So here we go. Quick sit. Like literally, we're just going to sit for 3 or 4 minutes. You can do this. Just find a quiet space. Sit your butt down anywhere and just sit. Close your eyes. And that way, close off the outside world a bit. And if there's any sounds or noises, that's okay. Just include them. They're there. They're part of the world. We're in the world. So just drop inside. Just quietly drop inside. When I say be here now, I mean right here, right now. Let go of all thoughts, all preconceived ideas, all judgments, all concepts, all visions of any kind of a future. There is nothing next. This is it. Everything is exactly how it needs to be in this moment. So just come here through your breath. And if thoughts come up, just watch them. Just let them go gently. Just gently let them go. We are here in this body, in this space, right now. Just use your breath to come into the moment. Focus on your breath. And if thoughts come up, just watch them. Watch how easy it is sometimes to get on that thought train. Just come back with the breath. Be here now. There we go. Just come back when you're ready. Or don't come back. It's okay. Stay in this place, this stillness, the isness. That is you. That is me. That is now. Okay, love you guys. I'm going to leave. You can just stay in that quiet place. You can join us tonight if you like. We have our sharing group at 7. I'll post the link. Okay. See you tonight. Love you.